So we have Andrew Serafini here. He is the owner and founder of CYTOGEN Global Hemp Brands as well. And since 2014, Andrew co-founded and launched several CBD companies and brands. And he's focusing on the importance of widespread education for patients and medical professionals. And he's been producing medically geared CBD and adaptogen-based products for the management of active and chronic illnesses. So that's kind of, really, really cool there. And I'd also have to throw in the pain aspect as well. So Andrew educates and trains physicians, licensed professionals in the US and in Brazil, on the functional and clinical uses of cannabinoids. His unique skill set is a deep experience with the business of cannabinoids and concurrently understanding the medical uses for CBD, or I should actually say cannabinoids, because it's not just CBD, across a number of disparaging diseases. So his qualifications include cannabis science and medicine certificate from the Robert Lerner MD College of Medicine, University of Vermont, his professional certificates from the Medical Cannabis Institute in clinical cannabinoid medicine. He's a graduate of the Green Flower Media Cannabis Fundamental Certificate Program and Foundation of Cannabinoid Medicine Program Certificate from the Advent Academy. So he's worked alongside many of the brightest researchers and medical practitioners in integrative and cannabis medicine. He also serves as the Chief of Education for Global Health Brands. They are the makers of CYTOGEN medicinal cannabidiol products that are approved by the I wrote this.
Anvisa.
Read it. ANSA AM. Gosh, I'm going to actually have to put my glasses on for this one.
Anvisa.
Anvisa.
That's right.
Regulatory Agency. Brazilian Ministry of Health. CYTOGEN's written. CYTOGEN is written by a doctor's prescription for the treatment of 10 health conditions in Brazil, including epilepsy, Alzheimer's disease, arthritis, chronic pain, MS, fibromyalgia, IBS, which is irritable bowel syndrome, or actually just irritable bowel disease. You can go with that. Autism spectrum disorder, Parkinson's, and mental health ailments. And that's quite the impressive resume. Take it away, Andrew.
Well, thank you for that introduction, and for Denise as well. I've just been fortunate to be able to work with her over the years. She actually got into space about a year before we did. When I say we, my wife and I have been really on this journey together, and our focus has largely been on really attacking and servicing the medical vertical. I'm a former paramedic and have a tremendous amount of experience in the medical side. And as I was really starting to get exposed to cannabinoids, and several years ago, the light sort of clicked on that if we were to, really get this information out in a valid and sort of affirming way, that if we could reach the medical community, doctors, pharmacists, licensed professionals, anybody that services or has an expertise with a health emphasis, that we could reach that many more patients or clients, if you will, with this powerful, natural, healing modality. And as Marvin mentioned earlier, and several of the other speakers, if we can bring the body back into balance or homeostasis, that many of these diseases are unable to manifest in the first place, right? And so as we look at the real differences between allopathic medicine or traditional medicine, which targets symptoms, but never really gets to the root cause of what's driving those symptoms, versus, 5,000 years of natural medicine that treats the entire system, and we can actually prevent, a lot of these health conditions from manifesting in the first place. So kind of this curative side, of allopathic medicine versus this prophylactic or preventative side with natural medicine, with really focusing on getting the body back into balance. And so what we've done with our CYTOGEN line of CBD products is we developed a vein of business outside of the United States where the latitude, to do clinical work and really not have the limitations that the FDA sort of imposes on here in the United States. Cannabis still sits in a Schedule 1 category, which means it has no medicinal value and has a high propensity for addiction. Yet the government that we operate under has a patent on cannabinoids as being a neuroprotectant and an antioxidant, yet it has no medicinal value. So really what we found as, this hypocritical conversation that's coming from, the authorities that be, we developed a piece of business and really looking at the functional and clinical uses of cannabinoids outside of the United States, where we could really prove, the safety, the quality, the efficacy of the products without these barriers to entry. And so we've been approved by Anvisa. It's basically the FDA's version in Brazil. They're under the Ministry of Health, the health regulatory agency, and we're partnered with a top brain institute there, so we can really start to look at. And I think all of the viewers and listeners today know how CBD sort of really started to get its notoriety. It was really around the epilepsy conversation with Dravet and Lennox-Gastaut syndrome, where there are no solutions in Western medicine for these intractable seizure, syndromes. And so as we've brought this, let's just call it medicine. Our products are actually deemed a medicine in Brazil and written by doctor's prescription. That we could really start to target the functional and clinical uses of these cannabinoids at really specific disease states, and the neurological impacts that CBD and other cannabinoids have are quite profound, even with the autistic community. And I want to be very careful that I don't get into health claims here. So I'm sort of speaking about I'm going to just preface that we're speaking about what we're seeing in Brazil and other countries that we're working in, where we can speak a lot more openly around how cannabinoids work. And I think with those of us that are in the finished product side of the business, it's been a very difficult, very arduous journey. There's so many limitations around banking, marketing. I mean, even just social media marketing is very limited. The legalities are constantly changing, making sure that our products are compliant and standardized, and keeping them below 0.3, which is sort of an arbitrary number, and unless you're developing very high level genetics that you can keep your grow and your harvest below 0.3, which is it's next to impossible. We've really found ways that from the time that we select a genetic and the soil that it's actually grown in, and developing the microbiome of the soil, all the pieces that go into even the water that's being used, that it doesn't have deuterium, that the soil that's being used, it's being USDA certified, organic. All of these pieces along the product development cycle are so very, very important, which the output going into a finished product equals quality and safety, right? If we don't have those two things, we don't have anything, in my mind. So it's been a difficult journey in the fact that there's been so much misinformation, so much just deception, really, what we call predatory manufacturing, companies that have taken advantage of the consumer, and have largely relied on marketing claims that don't have the basis for affirmation. And so what we've continued to push, largely in the space that we're in here, to ethically and responsibly advance this work. And really, it's become a mission, right? Where we feel not only a spiritual mission, where we feel God has sort of given us an assignment to train and educate doctors. Is the latest statistic, roughly 8 to 12 months ago, is 90% of physicians don't really have any training in the endocannabinoid system. It's now just starting to be adopted into traditional medical schools. In fact, the Robert Larner College of Medicine was the first traditional medical school to start to bring in a very high level cannabis pharmacology and cannabis curriculum into a traditional. They were, I think, the fourth school in the United States on the traditional side. Very, very old institution. but we're starting to see the adoption, right, which is fantastic. So hearing everybody's, messages this morning and their presentations, it just affirms that it really takes a tribe, of people that to move the needle in the right direction, away from Western pharmaceuticals, which are petroleum-based synthetic compounds that are not designed to interact with the body. That's why there's so many side effects that come with all of these different medicines. And I think, we look at, allopathic or Western medicine, and it's good for some things. It's good for acute emergencies and where you have to have intervention to save a life, and also for infectious diseases. But the big chasm in the middle, which is called chronic illness, we are failing, miserably. So it's been just an incredible honor to be able to bring these products to other countries and see and understand the validation around what we'll call serving sizes. So being in this industry, I have to be very careful with language, but being able to really target specific high quality ingredients that have a synergy with cannabinoids. And we know that adaptogens, many of them, whether it be curcumin or turmeric, or what the bloom folks, purpurine, and several of the other, goji berry and ashwagandha, all of these adaptogens, which are basically compounds that protect your body from external stressors, have an amazing synergy with cannabinoids. And it was really interesting how we discovered this. Several years ago, we were really thinking of how we could, establish creative ways to talk about the benefits or the health benefits of cannabinoids. And so, because the FDA is so heavily scrutinized, the talking about CBD, because there's not a tremendous amount of clinical study behind them yet, we started to look at other herbs and roots that did have that proving. There's been 1,000 studies on curcumin and turmeric, that we could talk about the benefits, in those products, or in that root essentially. And in that journey, we found that there was just this incredible power, between these different cannabinoids and adaptogens. So it's the whole 1+1=7 sort of methodology. And so we've really developed our line of products to take advantage of synergies within the body, understanding what's going to really engage the endocannabinoid signaling system, CB1, CB2 receptors, but also the orphan receptors, and using compounds like beta caryophyllene, which modulate the CB2 receptor, but don't come with the psychoactive element of THC or cause the high. So it sort of mimics what THC does, but we can develop therapeutic levels of beta caryophyllene in these products and get what we're looking for as far as the therapeutic benefit, without somebody having, maybe hesitant to take a THC or full spectrum product because they have, limiting beliefs around THC, or they just don't understand it yet. And of course, we all know that THC is very medicinal in many ways. It's a neuroinflammatory, it's a neuroprotectant, but it's been so demonized over the last 80 years, that we've been able to really look at different ways that we can really grab the health and therapeutic benefits of THC, put them in a hemp derived line, and be able to bring this to a national and international footprint. And we've been very, very successful to do that. So, as we have expanded our work in Brazil, to the United Kingdom, to Canada, other parts of the world where, the conversation is developing still, and those of us that have been in the industry for several years now, it seems like it's been a lifetime, but yet we're still at really the embryonic stages, of where the industry is going, how we can make an impact. And I think with 2020 being really a year of, let's just call it, enlightenment, or waking up, where people are starting to see really that how important their health is, and really being able to support and engage the immunity system, or the immune system, understanding that CBD is not a silver bullet, nor is medical cannabis, but we have to really look at the entire health picture, right? Looking at foods that they're being eaten, hormone levels, how their mouth health is, everything that feeds into this incredible organism called our human body, is really, it takes a number, it's a lifestyle change, exercise, all these different components. So, it's as far as all of us sort of working together to really move the needle and understand that this is a massive paradigm shift. We have to break out of instant gratification, and I'm going to take a pill for this and get 6 to 8 hours of relief, or it's really a change in thinking, and understanding that all of these critical pieces with exercise and movement, and not eating sugar and acidic foods, and understanding that the development of cannabinoids has to be done in a standardized, pharmaceutical way. So we're the output of what we're getting can be measured and can be predictable. All of these things sort of play together, and really, getting someone's health back on track. And for us, that's really been the impetus of why we've done what we've done. It's just been the incredible results that we've seen across a number of health conditions. It's so rewarding, to be able to help change a life. And as opposed to just creating a business, this has really become a mission for us to meet people where they are, come alongside them in their journey, and try to help them elevate, to a new place in health. The other piece of this too is especially with finished products, is the importance of education. And so as we've really looked at how can we bring this, there's so many pieces, right, just to the cannabinoid space alone. I mean, we're just looking at infographics of terpenes and chemical profiles of different genetics and all the things that go into a product, or even just a genetic or a strain. It's very hard, I think, for the general consumer or the patient to understand, let alone someone that is sick. So we're developing education that's, one, very palatable, taking clinical research and clinical studies and being able to put them in a palatable format so people can understand them. It's not written in science jargon and calcium channels and retrograde signaling, but what does it mean to the end user? And it's just been an powerful piece to really support the products and why they do what they do, as people begin to really understand, in this paradigm shift of how the products work, why they work, that it's not a silver bullet, but they're actually going to have to require some effort and discipline, to get their health back on track. That's really what CYTOGEN represents. So the CYTOGEN line of products are, as I said, mentioned, or are written by a doctor's prescription, to treat 10 different health conditions. And we're just seeing profound results, in a population of patients, from the neurological side to chronic pain to fibro to different health conditions that really traditional medicine doesn't have an answer for. So as the industry really continues to evolve, and things like COVID and other viruses and all the other things that are sort of really showcasing the importance of human health, the natural health industry is, in my mind, is going to continue to become front and center. We're taking 5,000 years of medicine that has been pushed down, has really been suffocated in many ways, and now the cat's out of the bag, right? And so it's, as an industry, as we continue to really push, in getting this education out to as many people as we can, and more doctors that are porting over from the traditional side to more functional and integrative medicine, and understanding how the body works from a holistic standpoint, is really, I think, in my mind, how we're going to see more and more conversion, of people and patients really taking this seriously. And that's really what we've wanted to have the CYTOGEN line represent, from our labels through the presentation, through our training. We have huge, big binders that go with, talks about the endocannabinoid system, through all kinds of different things, that, the history of hemp, understanding cannabis pharmacology, and not just dropping a product on a doctor's desk, but taking them through the importance of how each of these products work and how they're going to work for their patients specifically. And so it's as doctors, and it's been interesting because many of the doctors on the traditional side sort of have this God complex, right, where their patients have just blindly trusted them. But as we sit down and we really begin to educate them on the functional and clinical uses of cannabinoids, it's like a light bulb is coming on, and it's so affirming in many ways to understand that, what we're finding, that this journey from traditional medicine into the medical cannabis, or even, let's just say, the integrative medicine space, that we're really actually treating patients and getting them healthy again. And uh, it's profoundly rewarding. So that's really been the fuel, in our tank to keep us going, against all the different hurdles and challenges, and being able to push through, again, as the changed life.
Anyhow, Andrew, thank you so much. We're really inspired by all the work that you're doing, all the research and development in Brazil, and it's very promising. I know that we can talk about it in the United States. We can talk about it all we want. However, the different countries handle their policies differently than the
Right.
US. So
Absolutely.
even though there are products that may be talked about on this broadcast, you will not be able to buy those products in the United States.
Right.
There just has to be a segmentation of products based on international rules. So that's where Chris and his group come along. There's a bunch of big time movers in the industry that are helping to set policy, and hopefully one day, we'll become standardized where it won't need to be this way.
Yes.